Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the BCP Licensing Sub-Committee. The first item on this morning's agenda is the election of chair. Can I have nominations for chair for this morning, please, members? Councillor Chapman-Law.
I'd like to nominate yourself, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Can we firstly deal with the housekeeping issues? Is that Rebecca or Michelle?
I'm going to do it, Steph.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. The meeting may also be recorded or streamed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, or their ultimate discretion in this matter lies with the Chair in case of disruption. For those in the room, please note if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point at the War Memorial in the gardens opposite the front of this building in Bourne Avenue. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. For those in the room, this includes turning off microphones and turning down the volume completely on your laptops. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, apologies for absence. Michelle?
Thank you, Chair. We've had an apology for absence from Councillor Sidaway and we have Councillor Chapman-Law standing in as first reserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3 on this morning's agenda, declarations of interest. Do members have any declaration of interest regarding the agenda items on this morning's agenda?
None here, Chair.
Thank you.
I have none.
Thank you. Item 4, the protocol for public speaking at hearings. A protocol for public speaking at meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee is included with the agenda sheet for noting. Item 5, members, exclusion of press and public. In relation to the items of business appearing below, the committee is asked to consider the following resolution: that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 2 in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and that the public interest in withholding the information outweighs such interest in disclosing that information. Are members happy that we move into exempt session?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, members. Can I ask for the live stream to cease, please? Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the BCP Licensing Subcommittee. Item 7 on this morning's agenda is the application for a new premises licence, Christchurch Harbour Kitchen. I will now ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role. I'm Councillor David Flagg, elected chair for this morning's subcommittee meeting.
I'm Councillor Chapman Law. I'm a member of the subcommittee.
I'm Councillor Lawrence Williams, also a member of the committee.
And we're also joined this morning by Councillors Canavan, Bartlett and Farquhar, who are basically observing for training purposes, but they will not take part in any debate that the committee has. BCP Council, please.
I'm Joanne McNamara and I'm the legal advisor to the subcommittee today.
Good afternoon or morning still. Michelle Cutler, I'm clerk to the committee today, and I have Rebecca Rhodes here from Democratic Services. She's doing the techie stuff, and I also have my colleague Tan with me this morning. She is observing from Democratic Services as part of her training. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Rogers. I'm Principal Licensing Officer, BCP Council.
For the applicant, if you could use your microphone, please. Thank you.
Paul Trickett.
Virginia Hazel Trickett, Director of Christchurch Harbour Kitchen Limited.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could. Objecting, please. We have.
Richard Slater.
Thank you.
Claire Bath, Deputy Chairman of the Mudderford Sandbank Beach Art Association.
Thank you.
Councillor Julie Richardson, East Southbourne and Tuckton.
Thanks very much. Before I run through the procedure, please may I check that all persons who have given notice of their intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw a representation or wishes not to speak has been identified. If there are no comments, I will take this as correct. I will now explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report. Questions of the licensing officer by all parties, the members of the subcommittee to go first. The applicant will make their application. Questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the subcommittee to go first. Objectors will make their representations. Questions of the persons objecting by all parties, members of the subcommittee to go first. All parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. The hearing will then conclude. The subcommittee will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. I will now ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations. Paul Trickett, are you happy with that? Thank you. Ginny Trickett? Yeah. Thank you. Richard Slater? Thank you. Claire? Thank you. Councillor Richardson? Thank you. Sarah Rogers? Thank you. And finally, Joanne?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Please may I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they have already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair, and there will be no cross-examination of parties. I will now ask the licensing officer to present the report. Sarah, please.
Thank you. An application has been made for a premises licence to permit the provision of recorded music and the supply of alcohol until 11 p.m. each day of the week for a proposed floating restaurant concept. The structure will be moored up at the same location when trading, but not located there permanently. Photographs of the restaurant have been provided for information this morning. 37 representations were received on the grounds that to grant the application, it would undermine all 4 licensing objectives. 2 of the objectives are here in support of their representations. No representations were received from any of the responsible authorities. However, additional conditions were mediated with Dorset Police and Environmental Health. Dorset Police also agreed a revised terminal hour of 10:30 p.m. and that alcohol should be ancillary to food. If granted, those will form conditions of the licence. Should this application be granted and the applicants fail to operate in accordance with their licence and any conditions attached to it, they will be aware that any of the responsible authorities or any other person may request a review of the licence at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Members, do you have any questions for the officer at all?
Not currently, thank you.
Thank you. In which case, can I then ask Paul Trickett if you'd be kind enough to address the committee, please?
Yeah.
Well, I've just realised I haven't asked if there's any questions for the officer. So if you have any questions for the officer, this is your opportunity.
Just the one. The licensing going to 11 o'clock is probably not going to extend that far because generally speaking, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock will be finished because the ferry stops. But it was there just for a,
The whole point of this is
Sorry.
questions of the officer.
Oh, sorry.
So obviously you can explain.
No,
You
okay.
can explain your position when it comes to you. Claire.
Yes, I just want to know if the licence is granted, can the operation be moved to anywhere else to actually allow the sale of alcohol and music to be played, or would it have to be specifically in the place that's been identified in the application?
It would have to be in the place that's been identified.
Thank you. Paul, would you be kind enough to address the committee, please?
Sorry, I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, you need to address the committee to convince us why we should provide you
Yes.
with a licence for your
Right.
application.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Now we've obviously had written information, but the whole point of this is for you to be able to expand on that information to provide additional information for the committee. Hence, the officer has told us that the police have already agreed different hours with you, and that the sale of alcohol will be supplementary to the provision of food.
Right. Yes, the proposal, our proposal is that it is purely a restaurant which would serve alcohol to responsible people. It's not going to be a party boat or a boat where you can come aboard and start drinking. It's purely for the pleasures of being something different, sitting on the water, watching the sun go down, and if you want, there is alcohol available. The concept is quite unique as the structure's been designed by myself, that it folds up and we come in the morning, it unfolds hydraulically, the tables and chairs are put out, and there is a substantial gantry that is wheelchair approved and pushchair approved, not gangplanks.
Is that it?
What do I want to say? Oh, sorry, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but we're not used to this sort of thing. So, what do you want me to say on top of that?
You need to say about.
Oh, right, yeah. As has been previously said, the fire department have been down and checked it all out and give it's okay for fire safety. Environmental have passed it. Yeah. Sorry.
Perhaps you'd like to address the comments that have been made in the representations.
In these, all right, okay. The representations, as far as I can see, there are a few representations that highlight the 4 objectives, but loosely, for argument's sake, the protection of children. One representation has suggested, are they going to wear life jackets? My answer to that is that they didn't have life jackets when they came over on the ferry, and as this is not a moving structure in 6 inches of water, we don't feel that there's going to be any hazards there. With regards to...
And they will be accompanied
Oh,
by
yeah.
an adult.
And they will be accompanied by a responsible adult or parent, but then it is our duty then after that to make sure that they are responsible. Public safety, we have all the safety equipment on board, even oxygen, as well as first aid kits, fire extinguishers and life rings. The whole structure is completely enclosed, so there's no way anyone can fall off or children can fall through the gaps. As to public nuisance, I wouldn't suspect any public nuisance at all because it's a dining area, not a bar. Prevention of crime and disorder. We've looked at this and obviously we will tackle anything that might come across as crime or disorder, like anyone else would do with any other licensed premises. Public safety, that's obviously our #1 core, to make sure that everyone enjoys themselves and there are no mishaps.
Respectful of everybody else.
Yeah, and to be respectful for everybody else around. Noise. I note in a lot of the comments, noise travels across the sea. Well, yes, it does, but there are hundreds of people on the beach, kids screaming, shouting, enjoying themselves like they should. So I don't see that will be an issue.
And as far as the music's concerned, when you go into a restaurant, it's background music at a minimal, so people can speak. We don't want people shouting or anything. It's got to be at a level where everybody can speak, and sometimes you might not even want the music because the surroundings, you want to be able to hear the birds, the sea and everything, so it will be at a minimal.
Right, okay. Pollution. All the litter or plates, covers, etc., will all be kept on board and disposed of when we get back to our base. The toilet is a flushing toilet, which has a cassette, which will be changed daily. What else was it? Okay. Looking at most of the objectives, like as I say, a lot of them are looking at the worst scenario. I don't understand the one where they mention bats and wildlife because we're nowhere near where anything like that would be. It is more of a commercial area. I don't think what else to do now. Okay.
And as far as people urinating off the premises, I haven't been to a restaurant where people are stood there urinating. There is a toilet on board, and if there's anybody who thinks they're even going to do that, we don't want them on board. It's to be a respectful restaurant, not a party boat, and civilised. When I go to a restaurant, I want it to be civilised, as everybody else does.
We're trying to create something different. It has a unique selling point. We are planning to give the customer, the holiday maker, the hut owners even, the sense of being somewhere different with fresh fish caught from Christchurch. And a day that they won't forget. I'm sorry, I forgot my book, which I had all my notes in. And you know, perhaps if you'd like to ask me any questions about the amendments, and then I can recap.
Well, that's very kind of you, Mr. Trickett. Councillor Williams.
You've said that you're not particular about playing music. Why have you applied for a licence that finishes at 11 o'clock? And can you tell me what sort of volume you expect the music to be at in dBs, in the level that you intend to have it? Thank you.
Yes, I think when we originally applied, there was the part where it said music licence, I think, and we just applied for it thinking, well, we'll have ambient music, not live bands, which they have on the beach. And we went for 11 o'clock to cover maybe 8 o'clock or much the same as the alcohol licence. Generally, we will be finished at an earlier date. But we don't have to have a music licence. We don't have to have it. We don't have to play music. I think most people will be sitting there enjoying themselves, having a chat.
Thank you for that. Thanks.
They have already agreed the condition with
Yeah.
for 7:30.
Maybe just make
So-
that clear to the objectors.
There was the 2 points. One was the time of the music, and I recall, but I can't find it, that the environmental health put a condition with regards to
So I think it was 7:30.
Yeah, so the agreed condition with environmental health was all audio from the music system will be played at background level only and turned off at 7:30
There you
p.m.
go. Yeah.
So that was the condition you agreed with the environmental health. Yeah, thank you for that. Any,
I just want to remind you, obviously, about the Live Music Act and the deregulations. So if the alcohol licence is granted, then the premises will be able to provide live and recorded music between the hours of 8 and 11. And that will override the conditions. But the environmental health officer did appreciate that and did make that aware, so that there was the understanding that it would stop at 7:30.
thank you, Sarah.
Sorry, just a quick clarification. So the Alcohol Licensing Act overrides the EH.
Yeah, so the Live Music Act, which applies to all licensed premises, licensed for on sales, will enable any premises to provide live and recorded music between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. and it overrides conditions imposed on a license restricting live and recorded music unless until a premises causes a nuisance and a review is applied for and the Live Music Act is disapplied, basically. So it would be in good faith, really, that the applicants complied with this condition but it's not enforceable under the Live Music Act.
Until there's a review. If there's a review.
Well, you'd
they
only
cause
review it if
problems.
there was a problem,
If
yeah.
there was a problem, yeah.
So I think sort of summary is that the Live Music Act means that a premises with a alcohol licence doesn't need to have a condition to play live music. In essence, that's what it says, unless there's a problem and it comes back before yourselves, and then you can put a condition on at that stage.
Thank you for that. Joanne, do you have further questions?
That's what
I have a question, please. In terms of the food that you will be serving, because obviously you've agreed that the alcohol will be served ancillary to the food. What sort of food will you be serving?
We will be serving. We will be serving traditional fish and chips, pizzas, burgers, breakfasts, and we will be doing specials where we'll be doing surf and turf, lobsters and steaks, special nights, which will be reservations only.
Mackerel salad.
Fresh mackerel salads from Christchurch Bay, not the salad that is. So generally a short menu, but something in relation to the sea.
My concern, the reason why I raised the question was I wouldn't want you to be serving a bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
And then.
Oh, no.
No. So
No.
that's the point,
Yeah.
which is obviously what we're trying to ensure that the committee are aware of.
It's got to be something substantial, not like a packet of crisps or a bag of peanuts.
For that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And could you just recap on the waste again? I was concerned with regards to how you're going to control the waste on this vessel or pontoon.
We will go by the regulations of the council of what collection bags we need, and we also have a compartment on the vessel which is for storing all waste, so it is a contained area, and we will go by the regulations and whatever bags we need for collection.
Okay, thank you for that.
The collection will be made at home.
One more question from Councillor Chapman-Law.
It's not really relating to licensing specifically, but more of my own interest. You know, I'm a sailor, and I'm aware of the requirements for certification for commercial vessels. Just wondering what you've been through to get the vessel certified.
It doesn't need to be coded as we're not carrying passengers moving. It's a static platform. It's only moving when we come back and forth. So it doesn't need any coding. So basically all the regulations are for moving passengers. So there's no life jackets. You don't need any life jackets or anything apart from the usual safety equipment. So if there was, I have had charter boats in the past which needed full coding, life jackets, life rafts, flares, etc. So I'm fully aware of that, of all that.
Thank you for that. You mentioned earlier about finishing at 9 o'clock. I seem to recall you said that. Can you just expand on that for the committee, please?
I say 9 o'clock. I mean, we're going to be. This is new to us, so we'll arrive and we'll do the evening 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock sittings maybe, and chances are we'll be finished by 8 o'clock.
And have you got canopy cover at all?
We haven't got canopy.
For our English weather.
It's an outdoor restaurant. We will have shades of. They will be like old sails that are triangular that will be fixed to give it that beach effect, sailing effect.
Just wondered whether you wanted to.
Yes, I've been reminded. You mentioned about 9 o'clock. Did you want to offer that as a condition for the committee to consider?
what do you mean, to finish at 9?
It would basically finish at 9.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fine by us.
Thank you for that. Are members finished with questions?
Well, I didn't really get an answer to the level of music, but I think I can be assured if it's finishing early, then it won't be an issue.
Sorry, the level of music, if we have any speakers, they would be pointing inwards on the vessel, not outwards. And they would be very small speakers, and it won't be louder than anybody that's speaking. Okay.
Thank you for that.
One last question, I think. Yeah, so page 72 of the bundle of documents, there's a representation from Seafront Operations. It's numbered the representation 18.
18.
So page 72, if that helps. It's in a box.
Yeah,
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 so that's from Seafront Operations, and they say that the applicant has failed to approach either BCP Council as landlord or America State to secure the relevant consents operation, and they're concerned about the risk to public safety. I just wondered if you could provide any updates in relation to, have you had conversations with BCP or Merrick regarding consent?
Yes. I have had, oh, sorry. I'll find that in a minute. Last year, August time, I think it was, I approached BCP Council and asked for their licensing agreements for a floating vendor on the spit. They sent back a list of the licensing objectives, if you like. It came up with the beach, the promenade, streets, garden, unless you're in a market environment, like Christchurch Market, Bournemouth Market. I replied back to them and said, thank you very much. There doesn't seem to be anything that concerns a floating vendor. And that was the last I heard from them. We have been in touch with America States, and they have not come back to us as yet. We've been in touch with the SSSI. They are saying that, being it's a special scientific area, they are saying we are building a new harbour wall. They're not interested. I've been in touch with the Crown Estates, and as far as they're concerned, but they haven't got back to me in writing yet, it takes some time. Bearing in mind that around the coast there are loads of floating vendors, ice creams, pizzas. In fact, I think the Beach Hut had a floating vendor once, selling pizzas. Coffee shops, that sort of thing, fish and chips. Around the coast, there didn't seem to be a problem, but they were going to get back to me and put it in writing to me, but they haven't yet.
Okay, thank you for that. If there are no further questions, can I ask any of the objectors, do you have any questions for the applicant at all on the application?
Have you at any point conducted a noise assessment survey?
For
impact of noise to the area?
Well, no.
Okay. That's right, a simple no will suffice. How about an environmental impact survey?
No.
Well, you are talking about...
Excuse me, there's to be no cross-examination. If you have a question, that's fine. You can ask the applicant the question, but there's no cross-examination.
Not a problem.
All questions should come through the chair.
No worries at all.
All right.
So are you aware of the salmon spawning grounds that you're planning on putting feet down into the soil on?
Yes, you should come through, all questions and answers should come through the chair. Thank you very much.
I'm not aware of that, but having said that, the commercial side there are boats with anchors going in. There is the ferry going in and out. There are boats in the main channel going in and out. So what effect that I would have, I don't understand.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask how the structure was going to be attached to the seabed once it's in situ.
The structure I've designed, instead of anchors and chains dragging the seabed, I've designed two legs with diamond type arrowhead heavy poles that when they goes down, that you lower them down when you're in position, and it just pierces the sand and holds it in position.
For that. Councillor Richardson.
Just to clarify, I think, were you also offering a takeaway service?
We were looking at that, but we may come back on that. It might not be necessary for what we want to do.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions at all? Yeah. Sarah.
Just when you gave a list of the parties who have responded to you with regard to consent to use the area, you didn't mention seafront services, seafront operations.
Well, they haven't come back to me to say that I can't.
They put a representation in to say they couldn't.
This here.
So that's the representation at page 72. Yeah, yeah, representation 18, and they say.
Let me just read that again, and I'll.
Yeah.
Right. On the map of who owns what down at the head, it's highlighted around the spit from high tide up is BCP lease from Merrick Estates. So high tide down is nothing to do with BCP, and I have had no documentation to say that it is or it isn't. I have spoken to Sir George from Merrick Estates, and I'm still waiting for his reply to say to find out whether he owns it, whether the Crown owns it, or anybody else that owns it. At the moment, it is a grey area on who actually owns the harbour bed at that point.
Okay, thank you for that.
So can I just be clear? So the pontoon will be resting on the harbour bed. No, they'll float in, but the legs will be resting on into the harbour bed. Is it at any time adjacent to the gantry that's there for the ferry?
No. We are quite a distance away from the ferry. There were concerns I see in some of these representations about ferry access, etc. I've spoken to Mr. Derham, and he's replied to me that we were far enough away. In fact, if he came anywhere near where we were, he would be aground. His turning point, when he goes on the leeward side of the gantry, is just inside there. There's quite a big, deep channel, which over the time with the engines going is. So he does his reversing there, and then comes back down the navigable channel, which is miles away from where we are. We are virtually on the beach, in about, at low tide, probably a foot of water.
Thank you for that. Any further questions? Councillor Chapman.
So these posts, how are you going to account for tidal range? Because obviously there's about a metre of tide range, isn't there?
It floats. The posts are loose. We lower them down with the 2 inches. Once they're on the seabed, they gradually work their way in by the design of an arrowhead, if you like. So they gradually work their way in, and they only have to go in a little bit to actually fix the craft, because you're on a shear then. You won't be able to drag that across the sand. But because they're loose inside one tube into another tube, as the tide goes up, tide goes down. But it's fixed. And obviously there's a lot less environmental damage, if you like, even though it's a commercial area with boat anchors, chains swinging when the tide turns, etc.
Thank you for that. Right, if there are no further questions, we'll move on to the objectors. So, who would like to go first? Richard? Thank you.
So yes, sorry, my name's Rich Slater. I'm part of the Beach House down at Hengelsbury Head. I've been in restaurants and bars for a long time now. Been through a few of these applications myself, so I, certainly don't envy the applicant going through it. However, they do seem to have come unprepared. As say, from their own admission, there's been no environmental impact assessment taken out on where they plan on mooring each day. Bearing in mind the council themselves were unable to carry out remedial work on the jetty recently because of the salmon spawning grounds that are in that area, and anything that is talking about throwing anchors into the seabed in an area is going to affect that. So an environmental impact assessment certainly should have been carried out prior to any applications. A noise impact assessment, again, anything that we do these days, as I'm sure Sarah will confirm, noise impact assessments are becoming more and more standard, especially in a sensitive area such as this, and especially that they're unable to give answers as to what volume the noise will be, what equipment they're going to be using to produce that, or anything along those lines. The main point for me, I suppose, is the lack of engagement with the landowners. BCP Council, the Seafront Operations Team, who've made the representation, were unaware of the application until it went live, and have not been approached to discuss the possibility of this. They obviously, we have strict licence rules that we have to apply to at the beach house, same with the ferry operators, same with all the other users of the area, but for some reason the applicant seems to think that they're outside of these rules and don't require BCP permission down there. Bearing in mind they are talking about putting a gangway onto the beach, as well as mooring up a vessel in an area where children are regularly playing. They don't seem to appreciate that children can drown in a foot of water, and seem to think that health and safety isn't relevant at this stage in the game, which this lack of experience concerns me somewhat with having somebody new into the area. And also, as I'm sure Claire will discuss from the Hutties' point of view, there are already concerns of over-commercialisation in the area. We have obviously had issues with the beach house over the years and have worked very closely with the Hutties and with the council to make sure that we maintain certain standards down there, whereas unfortunately the applicants seem to be feel like they can go around all of these regulations. And indeed, there is no confirmation from the Merrick estate, who do own the seabed at that point in time, as the landlord, that they are willing to let out a licence, bearing in mind that it does fall within this boundary of what the Merrick estate currently have under their control and what they have leased out on a long-term lease to BCP Council. These aren't international waters. This isn't simply a case like Radio Caroline of pulling up outside a safe distance and getting on with it. This is a very busy public area where the public moor their own boats up on that shoreline, so they would be preventing public access to the beach. It would be a danger to the children that are playing in that area. They make no mention, say it's a floating pontoon that goes up and down with the tide. So what safety features there are to prevent children from swimming under it and getting caught, we have no mention of whatsoever. Health and safety seems to be an afterthought. And from our side of it, we work very hard with all the relevant different interested parties to make sure that we take on stewardship of the area, that we provide the service that the people using the area want, but that we work within strict limits so that we're not emitting noise outside of our permitted area. We go to great lengths with professional sound companies and engage with them to make sure that speaker systems, I think anybody that's been to the beach knows that even a little Bluetooth speaker can make a lot of noise and travel quite a distance. We obviously, they have said that they have been attested by EHO, although with the rubbish removal plan, I'm not sure that's going to hold up much weight of storing rubbish in the sun on the boat for up to 14 hours, I think it is, a day that they're applying for, without being able to remove it from site easily. Again, there's no mention of for how long they plan on mooring the vehicle up there, and it is a vehicle at the end of the day, even if they're not letting people onto it until it is moored, but it's going to require access times up and down the river, which is now talking about transporting rubbish up and down the river, and is talking about mooring on a daily basis, plunging these anchors into the seabed on a daily basis. There will be damage there. It will affect the wildlife of the area. It will affect the peace and stability of the area. And are they planning on removing it every single night or bringing it back down every day? If it's there at night, again, it presents issues and problems. No mention whatsoever of CCTV going in on the vessel to account for it, which again, with licensing, I don't think Sarah will have passed many licenses lately without CCTV requirements being part of it.
CCTV is a condition that's been agreed with Dorset Police.
So I'll let the other object.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Before we move on, any questions at all for Richard at all? No? Claire?
Thank you, Chairman and councillors. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I hope you don't mind if I read from my notes. I'm Deputy Chairman of the Mudderford Sandbank Beach Hut Association. Many of the representations you've received have come from our community. The noise, disturbance and visual impact of the proposed commercial operation would have a negative effect on the sandbank. The sandbank is loved by local residents, visitors and the beach hut community for its unique, peaceful, natural, tranquil environment. It is protected through the following policies and documents. BCP Policy ENV3 aims to protect areas of distinctive landscape character to preserve the local setting and character. A commercial expansion would erode the sandbank's unique open and natural coastal setting. Policy L5 protects informal open spaces from development. The sandbank provides vital open space for recreation, which is not intended for commercial use. The Mudderford Sandbank Management Plan clearly states that further commercial expansion is not supported by BCP. It focuses on conserving tranquility, limiting visitor impacts, and restricting overdevelopment. It prioritises sustainability and low impact use of the sandbank. The NPPF protects the natural environment in paragraph 174, stating that development must conserve valued landscapes and biodiversity. Paragraph 180 protects habitats and wildlife, stating that harm to designated sites must be avoided or fully mitigated. This commercial expansion would go against this through increased footfall, noise, and ecological pressure. The Marine and Coastal Access Act states that all coastal development must demonstrate that it won't harm marine and coastal environments. Christchurch Harbour is a triple SI, an SPA and a Ramsar site. The area is of international ecological importance, with strict protections under the Habitats Regulation. The granting of this licence is likely to have a significant effect and should undergo an appropriate assessment, whereby commercial expansion would almost certainly would fail. The proposed development would introduce artificial lighting into an area previously characterised by low light conditions. This risks disrupting local wildlife, particularly nocturnal species such as bats and birds, and could significantly degrade this sensitive coastal environment. This is contrary to paragraphs in the MPPF and the ME1 of the Christchurch Core Strategy, and the aims of the Wildlife and Countryside Act. The site forms part of a valuable habitat corridor where light pollution would cause ecological harm that cannot be adequately mitigated. The Sandbank community is a safe, peaceful, uncommercial place for families to enjoy. The Beach Hut Handbook from BCP ensures that hut owners respect this peace and are also allowed equally to enjoy the peaceful environment of their huts. I quote from the BCP Mudderford Sandbank Management Plan. There is no doubt that whilst the popularity of the sandbank could be increased, visitor levels should be kept at present levels to maintain sustainability. In tourism terms, there are too many examples of fragile sites that have been destroyed through sheer pressure of numbers and poor visitor management, and it is hoped that this management plan will work to assure the sandbank's unique environment is preserved. The noise and disturbance from increased footfall and music travelling across the water on a predominantly southwesterly wind to the residential beach huts would have significant impact on children, who can currently play safely on the harbour side and go to bed without disturbance from a commercial open-air operation selling alcohol and playing music. I therefore request that you refuse this application on the basis of the prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. Thank you.
Thank you. Members have any questions at all? No, thank you. No questions at all? A question?
Can I reply?
A question?
Oh.
Have a question.
My question is, with regards to the music being played loud, it's a little bit, I think, oh, question, sorry, can't cross examine. Sorry.
Thank you. It's a question.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Richardson.
As ward councillor, we've been overwhelmed by a volume of representations from residents, so I have a summary of their concerns. Number one, the environmental impact on the triple SSI. This area already has more than adequate refreshment facilities. Further commercialisation would inevitably increase both water and land pollution to the ecological detriment of this natural landscape, which contains a magnificent range of wildlife species in need of protection. In addition, given the woodland and beach hut areas surrounding the site, there would be a much increased fire risk caused by careless nighttime activity. Noise and disturbance. The movement of customers accessing the provision of food, alcohol and music services until late in the evening, 7 days per week, would create both noise and light pollution. This would disrupt the existing peaceful environment enjoyed by both the natural world and residents. In addition, there is no parking facility on site. Access is only by foot across Hengistbury Head or ferry services which do not operate late evening. Therefore, late evening public footfall on Hengistbury Head is inevitable, and with no immediate police presence containing the possibility of antisocial behaviour incidents will be a problem. Congestion. This stationary structure of considerable size would further congest navigational routes, creating potential risks and dangers to both customers and other water-based activities, particularly during poor weather and high tides. In addition, being in close proximity to the jetty, ferry services could potentially be disrupted. Further concerns included the gangway design, which it is believed will require people to partly walk in the water, posing a risk factor, and emergency service access late evening as the Broadway entrance gates are locked.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Any questions at all? No. Any questions? No. In which case then, can I move on to summing up? So basically, objectors, if there's anything that you failed to advise us of in your presentations that you want to sum up now? No? No, thank you. Bridget, you okay? Thank you for that. Right, we move on to the applicant then. Is there anything else that you wish to address the committee with regard to your application?
With regards to the music licence, we're saying we're going to have ambient music. Quite recently, on the beach hut or beach house, they've had live music Saturday, Sunday, 25th, 24th, Bank Holiday Monday, 26th, Friday the 30th, Sunday the 1st of June, rum and reggae party. So it's a bit hypocritical to say that the noise is going to come from the kitchen and their live music, which everyone can enjoy. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but you can't say that the noise is going to be coming from the Harbour Kitchen when in fact there are regular live musics from the beach house.
Thank you for that. Is that it? Nothing else to add? Thank you. Right. Sarah, did you want to add anything at all?
No, I don't think so.
No, not even reiterate the fact of the live music, which I'm guessing that's why live music is played at the beach house, because of that.
They may very well be licensed for it.
Yeah.
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 But no.
No, okay. Right. Thank you very much for your attendance. I will now conclude the hearing. At the end of this meeting, the subcommittee will adjourn in private with the legal advisor and clerk to deliberate. The decision will be conveyed to you in writing as explained earlier. Thank you for your attendance, everyone. Thank you.
Right of appeal.
Oh, just have a...
Just finally, that whatever the decision, there's a right to appeal to the Magistrates' Court, and that appeal starts 21 days from notice in writing.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting closed. Thank you.
The live stream. Thank you.